Hey everybody, welcome to Culinary Characters Unlocked. I'm David Page. On this episode, born in India and trained as a microbiologist, she's now a highly regarded chef in Houston, Texas. At her restaurant, Pondicheri, a kind of Indian diner, she's serving the flavors she grew up with, as well as her own beloved take on fried chicken. Here's Anita Jaisinghani. Chef, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. How are you?
Thank you. Likewise, I'm well.
How are things in Texas?
The weather is beginning to warm up. Outside of that, things are good.
Is there a lot of Indian food in Texas, in Houston, where you are?
Yeah.
Really?
I think people like Texas because the weather is similar to India. So the Indians feel, I love the weather here, even though most people hate it. I think it just attracts a big Indian population. So yeah, there's a lot of Indian people, a lot of Indian food.
Well, people don't realize Houston is a very multinational city.
Yeah. And I think at one point it was the most diverse city in the country. Now it may be New York, but for many years it was more than New York.
Well, how many years have you lived there?
Since 1990.
You were born in India, correct?
I was, yes.
Tell me that story. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And how'd you get here?
I was born in Gujarat, India. It is a western province where Gandhi is from. And it's not where my parents are from. But because of the partition, my parents left what was then Pakistan and came to India. And my dad settled in Gujarat as a state government employee. And we moved around within Gujarat, but I was born and raised in Gujarat.
How'd you get to the States?
I had an arranged marriage. I was married at the age of 20, and I came to Canada for a few years, and then I came to the U.S.
Not to pry, but did the marriage last?
About 20 years.
Not bad.
Yeah.
And when you came to the U.S., was it to Houston?
I first came to Canada. And then after Canada, we went to Andover to Boston because my husband got a job. And then he ended up not liking his position there. So we moved from Cambridge to Houston.
As a child growing up in India, were you interested in food?
Yes, from early on.
And what were your influences? Was it your mother? Was it your grandmother?
My grandmother, not so much. She passed away when I was very little.
I'm so sorry.
My mother, my aunts, our family cook, friends, neighbors. It wasn't the restaurant eating culture. It's never been a restaurant going culture in India. So it was a very, very rare occasion that we would go out. So it was mostly foods at home. And then eating at my friends' homes because we were Sindhis, which is in a region that is northern Pakistan now, but it was northern India then. And it's a very different cuisine than the local cuisine, which was the Gujarati cuisine, which was vegetarian, simple, mostly vegetables. So I got to kind of see two sides of Indian cuisine, and I loved them both.
I would assume that most of the components of those two cuisines were not the typical, quote unquote, Indian food Americans are used to.
No, they're not. That's right.
So your favorite dishes growing up would have been?
Really, if I had to say my favorite dishes, I would say it was the snacks that the Gujaratis made. The Gujarati food culture is really incredible, and they make a gazillion snacks.
Like
little savory crispies. They make these little steamed breads called dhokla and khaman and handvo. And I was obsessed with all of them. I wanted to eat that. That's what I wanted to eat. Now at home, I was used to eating my mother's curries and stews, which were also great because I was, it was home food. So the outside food was just very exciting to me.
You did not jump into the food business when you reached adulthood.
No.
You studied science?
Yeah, microbiology. And I worked in Calgary I basically was like an assistant to a pathologist, and I would read samples of, cultures and identify bacteria and disease and all.
It's kind of a big jump from that to working in a restaurant. When did you make that decision and why?
That had been brewing in the back of my head for a long time. And at home, I was very, very, very experimental. I was always making new things and not afraid to try something. And if it didn't work, I would just try something else. I wasn't afraid to make food that wasn't good. And also when I moved to Houston, I had a neighbor who was a Jewish woman married to a Moroccan guy. They were both Jewish, and they made this really amazing Moroccan food and American Jewish food, which I was not familiar with. So you spent Passover at their house, and I got to learn things there. And then I had another friend who was Dutch who taught me how to. So, and also my kids went to international school. So I got to see a lot of different cuisines at the school, and the school's moms would cook. So I just was very surrounded by and Houston has a strong Latin culture. So I got to know what Latin food was like, which I had no clue about until I came here. So I got to really experience all the different cultures, and it made me very interested in food.
And what was the impetus? When and why did you say, no more microbiology, I'm going to go cook in a restaurant?
Yeah, so when I left Canada, I came to the US and I was pregnant with my second child. So I couldn't just boom, go off to work. I had two children now under 3. So I decided to stay home for a bit. And in those days is when I started thinking about food. And also the medical laboratories in Houston wanted me to go back to school for 2 more years. And by then, I had thought about food way too much and moved on. And the same friend I had who was married to a Moroccan guy, we started a small catering business. So we started cooking for people's homes, people's homes for parties and stuff. And that was our first foray into food.
What kind of food were you making?
The kind of food that everybody would like. It wasn't like strictly Indian food. It was not strictly Moroccan food. We just come up with our own set of recipes or ideas of food. And it was, roasted chicken breast with certain sauces. We'd make like a curry or a tagine. We'd make couscous, do rice. So we gave people options of what they wanted. And then from there, we started a chutney business. We started making these chutneys, kind of like, condiments. In those days, you could walk into Whole Foods and show them a jar and say, would you like to have this? They're like, yeah, bring me 6 cases tomorrow. So we started at all the Whole Foods in Houston and then in Austin. And then from there, I wanted to go work for a restaurant because I was getting more and more excited about doing something. So I went to work for Cafe Annie.
Cafe Annie?
Cafe Annie, yes, sir. It was actually a award-winning restaurant, and the chef had taken Mexican food and kind of made it into Southwestern cuisine. It was a very well-regarded restaurant, and it still is. It's still around.
What did you do there?
I actually wanted to work, in the main kitchen, but I was rejected from that. So I worked in the pastry, and I wasn't interested in pastry as much as I was in the other food, but that's the only thing that they offered me. So I took it. I worked for free for about 2 months, and then I was offered a part-time job. And that was kind of like the beginning of what it would take to do a restaurant. The idea started forming in my head.
Back in a moment. You made the jump.
Yes.
You opened the first restaurant of your own. Tell me about that.
2001. I opened my first restaurant. It was a tiny little location, a small house set back from the road, and it was a huge success. And then 9/11 happened within 2 months of that. But because we'd had so much good press, we managed to stay afloat and it did really well. And then we moved to a bigger location, a more central location in 2007. And that restaurant was there for 15 years.
Let me interrupt. The name of that restaurant was Indica?
Indica with a K, yes.
And you were serving Indian food?
Yeah, it was definitely reimagined Indian food. My friends at Cafe Annie has sent me over to New York to meet some restaurateurs there to see what was happening there. So I went to this restaurant there called Tabla that was really famous. I spent some time in that kitchen, met the chef, and did all my due diligence of talking to the experts about opening my own place. And I was highly discouraged from doing it. People said, well, you're a stay-at-home mom, you have children, you're not going to make it, don't do it. So I wouldn't say that I was encouraged to do it. I was definitely not encouraged, but I was pretty stubborn. I wanted to do it. So here I am.
That lasted, you said, 15 years?
Yeah, almost 17 years actually, Indica, yeah.
Then what happened?
I owned Indica with my first husband, and we got divorced by then. So I wanted something of my own. That one I co-owned with him, and he had the majority stake. So I opened up Pondicheri, which was kind of my casual, everyday kind of restaurant. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted a restaurant that people could eat at. People could eat at all the time. It wasn't limited to, a high budget place. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't white tablecloth. So we opened Pondicheri in 2011.
I've heard it described as kind of an Indian diner.
Yes.
You do breakfast as well as lunch and dinner?
Yes, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, yes.
Did people accept it quickly?
They accepted the restaurant very quickly because I had the reputation from Indica. We actually were very busy right away. But breakfast was just dead. Nobody would come for breakfast because people just couldn't conceive that Indians ate breakfast and they didn't want to eat a curry for breakfast. I was like, we eat eggs just like everybody else does. We eat the same things that other cultures do. So it took some time to get breakfast going, but when it did, it did. And now breakfast is definitely one of on the weekend especially.
I looked at your menu and you have omelets. I mean, it's like any
Yes.
other American diner,
Exactly.
but you have a significant Indian bent to them. Why don't you tell me about some of the breakfast items?
Yeah, so, we wanted to introduce people to some new ideas with Indian food. And I love South Indian food, and South Indians make the best dosas, which is the fermented crepes. And we really tried to figure out how we can get crepes, those savory crepes for the people without it becoming too heavy, because nobody wants to eat a huge breakfast. So we just worked through ideas. I'm never short of ideas. I have too many ideas. I can be like constantly coming up with ideas. So we just experimented on a few, saw which worked. We even turned one of those crepes into a waffle and called it a waffle. It was like a dosa waffle. We put other stuff on that. You can put eggs on there. You can put other things. So we just created a lot of breakfast foods that we felt had mass appeal.
Well, I'm looking at the dosa waffles.
Yeah.
I can get them with strawberries and caramel, or I can go more Indian and there's a pumpkin seed chutney, an avocado masala.
Yeah.
What do most of the customers order?
The waffle is very popular, and our dosas are very popular.
Well, what if I order a dosa, which is kind of like a pancake, I guess?
Yeah, a savory pancake.
What do I get on it?
You can get anything from like the sweet potato mash to just greens. And the green dosa is very popular. It's got local greens quickly sauteed. It's got a pumpkin seed chutney below that. So it has a lot of nutrition, a lot of freshly cooked food. It's not heavy and it's not going to weigh you down in the morning. So the green dosa is one of my favorite dosas on the menu. The breakfast Frankie is another one.
Explain what a Frankie is.
Frankie it's like a Mumbai street food. And normally the Frankies in India will have chicken or vegetables or...
Well, is it a dough pocket or something? What is it?
No, it's like a wrap. It's like a burrito, but it's just thinner. It's not as thick as a burrito. So, and it doesn't have rice or potatoes. It normally just has either vegetables or chicken or lamb or something like that.
You're serving them with eggs?
Yeah, so the breakfast Frankie has scrambled eggs in it, yeah. And that one is really, really good. One of my favorite things to eat on the menu is the breakfast Frankie.
You mentioned when you were talking about the greens that they were local greens. How much local sourcing do you do?
As much as we can. So, the problem with local sourcing is that I can only get what grows here each time, each season. So other stuff I have to bring in from other places. But we use the local farmers more than almost anybody else in town does, because anything that we can buy locally, whether it's cauliflower or cabbage or the greens, we just get year round because there's an organic farm. They grow year round. Only when it freezes that our greens are not there, but otherwise we get local greens from them. And they are pungent, beautiful, variety of greens. So we get those all the time from them. And then we have local lettuces.
What about local proteins?
What we can. So for example, in the winter, we had Wagyu beef on the menu. We did this very traditional Indian stew called a nihari. It's usually made with like a beef shank, and we made that with a local Wagyu beef brisket. And those cows are raised an hour from here. So we did a whole thing about the Wagyu brisket, and it was phenomenal, but it's too hot right now. We took it off the menu. We put something back in the fall with the meat. So we whatever we can get locally, we can. We do. I can't say, and we get local eggs. We get a lot of our eggs that are from farms around here.
Does it really make a difference? Can you tell, is a local egg better than...
More than making a difference in taste, I really believe that eating food that's grown locally is good for your immunity. And I really believe that food is our best form of health preservation, preserving our health and our aging and everything. So I try to eat, on a personal note, I don't eat anything that is not local. At home, I go to the market every Saturday and I buy whatever vegetables I can find. And that's all I eat all week. I don't go to the grocery store to look for asparagus in the winter or, green beans in the summer. So I'm always buying what is growing around here. And I truly believe that eating locally gives you kind of immunity that nothing else can give you.
I noticed references to your interest in, I'm going to mispronounce this, Ayurveda?
Yes, it is a science of living. It predates modern medicine. And a lot of modern medicine is actually based on Chinese traditional medicine and Ayurveda. Now, I don't follow everything about it, but I do believe in Ayurveda.
Is that part of how you eat?
That is exactly how I eat, yes.
And we'll be right back. There is I guess, uninformed belief among many Americans that everyone in India is a vegetarian.
No, About 35% of Indians are vegetarians.
And there's a similarly, I guess, uninformed belief that no one in India eats beef.
Oh, people eat beef in India. Not very much, but they do.
Is most of your menu vegetarian?
I've tried to move my menu in the direction of vegetarianism very slowly and subtly. So I think when I opened the restaurant in 2011, my menu had like 80% meat, and I've brought it down to like less than 50% now. So I have a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans, a lot of vegetarian foods.
For health reasons, for environmental reasons?
All of those. And I really feel like, our bodies process vegetables better. And I feel like, if we're all going to eat so much meat, then what's going to happen to the environment? I am a big believer in climate change, and we've stuck with our ideals and nothing is getting in our way of that.
Do you see an increase in the number of customers who are embracing vegetarianism?
What I'm seeing is that everybody wants the option, or there aren't that many vegans out there. There's a lot less than we think there are. But I think a lot of people are wanting that option. So people that do eat meat will come to Pondicheri and eat something vegetarian because they know it's going to be really tasty. So they can count on us to make really tasty vegetarian food. Now, it's not like we don't sell meat. We do sell chicken, we sell fish, we sell shrimp, we have those. But people definitely lean towards our vegetarian food more because they know it's the one place they can eat tasty vegetarian food without compromising the flavor.
Well, I guess we've moved into talking about lunch and dinner to a great extent. So I come into the restaurant, I'm hungry as hell. Traditionally, I'd order a big hunk of meat. What are you making that is a satisfying meal that doesn't have meat in it?
Oh my God, so many things. First thing I would have is the green dosa. That's the first one. To me, you can have it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We have this amazing beet soup. That is one of my favorite things on the menu.
That sounds like borscht.
It's not like borscht at all. It's a warm soup with a lentil base. It's really tasty. We have a chicken frankie. We have the breakfast frankie. We have a chickpea tofu. We make our own chickpea tofu. We have chickpea tofu frankie.
I've never heard of a large demand for chickpea tofu.
No. There is no demand for it. We just created it and we sell it. And people love it. So it's a good form of protein without having any meat. We have a very nice South Indian vegetable stew called the avial, which is a coconut-based stew with all the local vegetables, asparagus, snap peas, local peppers. So we make a stew with that, and that's served with turmeric rice. We have samosas. You can get this lovely potato samosa. There are thalis. I think our thalis are one of the most exciting things we do.
That's spelled Thali.
Yes.
What is it?
It's basically like a little tasting platter. So you have 4 or 5 little cups of different things in there, and they all complement each other, but they are still separate. And they usually serve with a piece of bread or a dosa or a naan or something. And you just dip that into all these different curries.
So what would be one assortment?
The Vishnu Thali, for example. If you don't want to eat meat, or you can get the earth vegetarian. So the Vishnu Thali has saag, which is like a spinach and mustard green puree. It has the avial. It has the beet soup. And it has a little uttapam, which is like a thick dosa with vegetables in it. It has a little salad. Everything you would want in a meal without having any meat in it.
You are well known for dishes that contain meat.
Yes.
Let's talk about your fried chicken. When someone says I'm going to an Indian restaurant, the last thing I would have thought of is let's go to the Indian place for fried chicken. First of all, is fried chicken served in India?
No, but who cares about that? Why would I let that stop me?
Okay, well, let's take a diversion for a second. How much of what you're doing there is the food that I would actually find in India, and how much of it is your reinterpretation of it?
I honestly don't even think about that. I don't think about, if they go to India, will they see this or not? That doesn't matter to me. I'm completely oblivious to, is it reinterpretation? I just want the food to be really good. And that's my only criteria for what I serve. If I don't think it's really good, I'm not going to serve it. I do draw influences from the food of India, but I don't try to do it like India. I don't try to stay true to anything but to my own palate. I always love fried chicken, and I never understood why fried chicken was always kind of just, to me, greasy and not with as much pizzazz as I wanted. So we started making fried chicken just in the back of the house to taste, and we finally landed on a really good method to make it. So the one we make is actually dipped in chickpea flour and not in regular flour like most fried chicken is. And we feel that it's better than any fried chicken in the world. And like last night, we were sold out by 7 o'clock, and we normally make enough to last the whole day, but some days it's just a big push.
Well, I'm looking at the menu and it refers to ghee fried chicken.
Yeah. So we deep fry it in ghee. Yes.
Ghee is a clarified butter, correct?
Yes.
So no buttermilk, none of the typical Southern stuff.
No. I mean, we do marinate the chicken. It's like a 4-day process. We brine the chicken for 3 days, then we marinate it, and then we bake it, and then we pour bake it, and then we fry it. So it's a process making it, but it's completely worth it.
What's pork zakuti?
Shakuti.
Chakuti. It's an X. I had a choice. Yeah.
That's okay. Shakuti is a Goan stew. So it's native to Goa, which is colonized by the Portuguese for a long time. And it's kind of like a curry that has evolved as one of their main everyday stews. It's not very spicy. It's extremely flavorful. It has coconut, chilies, whole cinnamon, whole cloves that are, toasted and then ground. So it's very aromatic, very flavorful. And so we have a pork shakuti on the menu, correct? Which is one of my favorite curries at the restaurant.
And what's lamb keema?
Keema just means ground meat. It could be, and we grind our own meat. So, for example, when we grind our meat, we grind lamb or chicken or any other meat. We add mushrooms and celery to it to reduce the amount of meat.
It's kind of an Indian hamburger?
No. So, well, it could be. We could make it into an hamburger. We had a hamburger on the menu, on the last menu, but we took it off for now. And we have done Indian hamburgers. It's kind of like a kebab burger, we call it. So it's like making a big patty that's grilled, and then we put it on a bun. So yeah.
I'm fascinated by the fact that you have a section of the menu entitled New and Experimental.
Yes.
Well, it's like telling the folks, hey, we're taking a shot here. I mean,
yeah, it's like telling people that we didn't know because when I do something completely different, I'm not sure what people how they're gonna respond to it. Like I have these chili scallops on there, which everybody, they're like, no one's gonna buy these. Don't put these on the menu. And I'm like, no. I have a good feeling about them. And sure enough, they become one of our top sellers. So it's like having a beat on what people are looking for in food.
Well, do you have a gut feeling for that? Are you able to predict?
Very much so. Very much so. My gut feeling is one of the most vital things about my process.
So you don't just live in Texas, you understand Texas.
I hope I do, yes.
Tell me about your pastry program.
I don't have a sweet tooth, and I'm like the most reluctant pastry chef in the world. But when we signed our lease for Pondicheri back in 2008, it was about 3 weeks before the financial crash happened. So our building was going to go up, and we were going to have the bottom floor, and it was supposed to be done within like 8 months to a year. But because of the financial crash, the people that owned the building lost their financing, and they had to go look for new partners. And long story short, the building didn't get constructed till 2010. So we didn't open 2011. So we had this 2-year period where I had put down a lease, but I couldn't do much because the restaurant wasn't open. And always been a big fan of Nancy Silverton and her amazing pastry books. So I started to make bread at home, and I got into this like insane sourdough bread obsession where I was making my, I basically went down a bread path that became obsessive, and I was making a lot. I was literally standing at the corner of my street giving bread away because I was making so much bread at home. So that kind of started me off, and we started the restaurant with like one cookie when we opened Pondicheri. And within about a month, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be doing more pastries here. So let's find a way to include this on the menu.
The Bake Lab, that's above.
The space above us was empty for a while. So we wanted to take it over, and we took that space over, and we opened up the Bake Lab 4 years after we opened the restaurant, and 3 years after we opened the restaurant. And that kind of became an experimental space where we were making spice mixes and baking stuff. And we've kind of been playing with baked goods there since then. And that's been around now for more than 10 years.
What kind of stuff are you baking?
We make some croissants, but we add spices to them. We have this saffron croissant that we make. We make one with herbs and spices. We make scones and biscuits and little tarts with cakes. So we do all kinds of stuff, and we just infuse Indian spices and ideas into them.
What's chai pie?
Oh, chai pie, yes. We won the best pie in Texas from People magazine a few years ago. I couldn't believe that they even found us because we don't have PR, we don't advertise, but they found us and they gave us an award. And it's like a custard pie with all the elements of chai in it.
Chai being tea.
Yeah, chai tea. Yeah.
Is it spicy? Is it?
It's aromatic. It is spicy, but in a very, tasty way. It has cardamom, cloves, bit of cinnamon, nutmeg. So it has all all the aromatic spices that you would put into a good chai is what it has.
What kind of desserts are typical in India? And I understand there are many regional cuisines.
India has a lot of regional sweets also, and I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest fan of Indian sweets. I've always been a little bit hesitant to do the typical Indian sweets, which are those little, they call mithai or little pieces. They look like pieces of fudge, but there's a gazillion of those, and I find them too sweet, just not distinctive enough. So I've made a few of those, but I don't have a lot of variety of those. So like I said to you earlier, that I'm not trying to do what you would find in India. I'm trying to see that, okay, do I want to eat this? Would I like to eat this? Would I serve this to my family and my friends? And the answer is yes, I would make it. Otherwise, I would not. So
You got a dessert on the menu listed as a crack ball.
yeah.
What is it?
So, when we make all our cakes and our pastries, we always have all the leftovers, the crumbs and all. So we began to collect those into a big box. And then we throw in some nuts and nut butters, some, caramel, and we just put that into a tight ball, dip that in chocolate. We call it a crack ball. It's very tasty. It's very sweet. It's like a little tasty bite at a time. And we decided to do a cake that was inspired by the crack ball.
I noticed that from time to time you offer a tasting menu dinner.
Yes.
What do you do?
So we just started doing that. Actually, we did a few last year, but then we were spotty with them. But starting this year, I'm doing one a month and I want to do them more often. We have a multi-course menu and we sell tickets for it and people sign up and they come and we make different courses. And I try to do food that is not something you find at the restaurant. So it's something that is seasonal that we can find now and just twists on foods. And it's about making food exciting and pleasurable and just it makes you smile. So we try to make really interesting food. And we do at least like 8 to 10 courses in these.
You show up as a guest at that dinner with no idea what you're going to get.
No, exactly.
It's all a surprise.
It's all a surprise, yes.
And how's the response been?
I mean, we did really well for the first few months. And then last month, we actually had to cancel our dinner because we didn't have enough people that bought tickets. And I just don't know whether it was the economy, the politics, or we felt like a little shift happening. But then I'm doing one this weekend, so we have people again. So I don't know. I think there's been a lot of movement in the restaurant industry because it's eating out is it's not something you have to do. It's a expense that you can easily avoid if you don't feel good about the economy or about money. And we get hit sometimes for that.
Well, look, restaurants have always been a crapshoot.
Yes.
Given economic conditions, are you concerned going forward?
Of course I am. I'm very concerned.
Are you cutting back in any way?
I mean, no, we are watching our numbers to see how they are trending. And we are still, according to the guy that does my books, he said we are still trending okay based on the last couple of years. It's just, it's a little spotty. Like we'll expect, we normally have, by now we have a certain track to follow. And we are not following any of those trends right now, but we are still trending overall for the month of like April or the month of March. We are still trending the same, but it's just in different pockets. So there's a lot of jitteriness in people, and I feel that.
What do you think about dining in America these days and the choices people seem to be making and what the future might hold?
I think people need to cook more. I think when you cook more, you appreciate restaurant food more. And people should be very mindful of where they eat because there's a lot of bad food out there. There's a lot of people that don't care about their ingredients. They don't care about what they're putting in their food. And I resolved one thing when I opened my restaurants, that I would only serve food that I want to eat. So I never put food out that I wouldn't eat. I never do something that's trendy or that's, this is fashionable, so let me put this on the menu. I've never done that. I've always put things on the menu that, okay, I would eat this now. And this is what and my personal choices have evolved over the years. I definitely want to eat healthier because I believe that I don't have a lot of faith in the medical system in America. So I feel food is our medicine. And I've definitely shifted to that Now, I don't think we should be only eating boiled food. We should be eating the right portions, the right mixes of food. And so I believe in the joy of cooking and food. And I do think people should cook more and eat out less.
Except at your place. They should go to your place a lot.
That would be nice. Yeah. But be mindful of where you're eating out.
You talk about people cooking at home. You were nominated for a James Beard Award for your cookbook.
Yes.
Did you expect that?
No.
If I buy your cookbook, am I going to learn to make Indian food?
Absolutely.
Let me put it this way. How hard is it using a cookbook like yours?
I think I worked on this cookbook for many years, and I wanted to demystify how to use spices, because you can just pick up 2 or 3 spices and start with those. You don't have to have everything, and the freshness of the spices, how much you're using, all of that really matters. So really, the book is about how to use spices. And I don't even care if people don't get to the recipes. If you just, the first 100 pages is all writing. It's about the philosophy of how to cook, why I cook, why eating good food is important. And I think those are the most essential. That's where I put my hardest work, is in those first 100 pages.
And the title of the book?
Masala, which just means a spice blend.
Masala, and the lengthier title, Recipes from India, the Land of Spices.
Yes.
Congratulations on publishing that and getting it noticed.
Thank you.
And on the continued great reviews for your restaurants.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. It's been a real pleasure.
You're welcome. Likewise.
Anita Jaisinghani on Culinary Characters on Lock. I'm David Page, and I'll see you next time